Okay guys, I'm back with another video, and this one is going to be about my junior year second semester. So without further ado, let's dive right into my courses. So this semester, you can see my weekly schedule. My Fridays were completely free, but I obviously filled it with other extracurricular commitments. The courses I took are EECS 270, 460, 485, and this totaled to 12 credits, which is definitely a lot lighter than I was used to, and I will have more insight on what that was like later on in the video. Extracurriculars was pretty similar to my fall semester junior year. The only difference was that the research position, I was able to bring it back up to like 6 hours a week averaging, because issues were sorted out. Okay, so on to EECS 270 as our first class. Now, I had Professor Sakala, gave him a score of 7. He was a good lecturer, but I think maybe it was just me and early in the morning. I was just able to not be able to pay attention to him. It was a little bit drawn on, but yeah, that was pretty much it. I came out of the class with A-. Now this class, the lectures were recorded, hallelujah. I gave them a score of about 8 in terms of how well they were structured and how well I was able to learn from them. The labs, 30% of your grade, I gave them a difficulty of 6.5 because even though there were 7 labs and they should have taken the entirety of the semester if you paced it out like a normal person, but I was able to finish all 7 labs about 2 or 3 weeks before the actual class ended. So that really just shows you that because all of the labs were posted online in the beginning of the semester, I was able to move through all of them because I had a 12 credit workload, so that was pretty. So I was basically bored, and I just filled my time by doing my EECS 270 labs. And the difficulty-wise, they were programming-wise, the actual be able to write the code was much easier than 280, and they were probably easier or at the same difficulty as EECS 183 or Engineering 101, depending on which one you took. But I think the hardest part that most students struggled with was that they had to understand how to work out the logic and how the actual thing, like the entire program, flowed together as a FPGA design in a sense, because the way that the lab is run is that we have to use Verilog HDL to program in FPGA. There were 3 exams, midterms 40%, finals 20%, and there were a difficulty of 8. The averages are shown on the screen. And there were 9 problem sets, 10% of your grade. I gave them an 8 because they were relatively helpful. Office hours are really helpful. GSI explained really well, and it really helped me understand the material from lecture. Okay, now EECS 460, which is Control Systems Analysis and Design. I had Professor Mirkov. I gave him a score of 5.5. I won't really go into details of why that is, but objectively speaking, he was a good lecturer. He was able to explain material and provide examples that for me was relatively easy to understand. But there were other factors that influenced that score. But if you're really curious, you can search his name and rate my professor on Google or whatever search engine that you use, and you'll be able to see like what people in my class in my semester felt about him and why potentially my score is higher than a half. But other than that, I came out of this class with an A-. The lectures were not recorded, and there were discussion sections as well. But I gave them both a score of a 6 or a 7. The labs are part of homework. The labs are based on MATLAB and Simulink, and so are the homework. And they were difficulty about 6. The last lab is MagLab lab, and that was worth 10% of your final grade. But it sounds like a lot, but really they did a really good job of helping the students leading up to the lab to almost like holding your hand in a sense. The homeworks were 15% of your grade. There were 2 exams, 1 midterm, 35% of your grade, and 1 final, 40% of your grade. There were difficulty about 8, and you can see the class averages. Office hours, I didn't go to the professor's office hours, but I heard that it was okay, depending on the day and his mood. But the GSI office hours were really helpful in terms of understanding how to do the homework and the labs, and there were no practice exams for this class, so that was sort of a sore point with a lot of students. The last class, the third class that I took for the semester is EECS/Biomedical Engineering 458. This is the Biomedical Instrumentation and Design class. It's a pure lab class taught by Barry Belmont. I gave him a score of 8. Came out of this class with A. The lectures were recorded. They were a score of 7 because, I mean, it's a lab class, and the lectures were more sort of for your own personal development in a sense. It was less of a content lecture. There were 3 lab modules, but the way that they were structured, you had to go to every lab each week. They were 30% of grade, and in terms of difficulty, they were like 3 or 4, but in terms of helpfulness, I gave it a score of 9 because we were able to actually build circuits ourselves and test it, and it was much more hands-on than 215, 216, or like any of those intro circuits classes would have ever provided. The only other class that would have matched that level of hands-on experience with circuits was EECS 311. There's one design lab at the end of the semester that took about 3 to 4 weeks. That was 20% of the grade. Difficulty-wise, it wasn't that hard. The only hard part was really just lab view, programming, the software. So that was sort of a pain point. So I gave it a score of 7.5. Readings, presentations, and medical device presentations, they're not as presentations as it sounds. Is literally you just sitting in a circle and talking to like 3 or 4 other students with Barry about a medical device that you found. And there were 30% of your grade and difficulty of like 5. There was one homework that has 20% of the grade, but that was a relatively easy homework. And there's no exams in the class because it's a pure lab class. So as a summary, the semester was actually pretty relaxing. There were times where I felt bored because it was a 12-credit course load, and with 3 classes, it was definitely lighter and easier than my usual 16, 15 credit course load with like 4 or 5 classes. So I ended up, like I said before, with the EECS 270 because I had so much free time on my hands. That I ended up focusing more on my research, on my side job, and also doing my EECS 270 labs. So one big takeaway from this semester is that even though it was pretty chill, I still came out of it equipped with a lot of background in Verilog and control systems knowledge, and both of which I foresee using and will be very helpful for my future endeavors. So aside from any kind of concerns with professors or anything, all of the classes mentioned in this semester I found to be very helpful in terms of content. So that is all I have for today. Hope you found this video helpful, and if you liked it, as always, check out my other videos and subscribe. Thank you.